Historically, it has been extremely difficult to sue the federal government if you believe your rights were violated. But now all that could change because of a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision.
What do you feel for those families in that South Shore raid?
Oh, that was horrible.
The federal raid on this 130-unit apartment building at 75th and South Shore in September has led to a congressional investigation by the Homeland Security and Judiciary Committees.
They had little children and old people outside and in handcuffs.
You're just raiding the whole building.
Federal agents from the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection, using flashbang grenades and battering rams, trampled through these apartments.
Ridiculous.
In this October 6th letter to Department of Homeland Security Director Kristi Noem and Attorney General Pamela Bondi, ranking Democrats accuse federal agents of violence against innocent people, including children swept up and taken away wearing little clothing. In cell phone video, you can see this one wrapped in a blanket.
And that's a little girl, and she's out here damn near naked.
Just imagine the sort of traumatic experience that it is to have your door blown open in the middle of the night or in the very early morning. And now imagine that you're 4 or 5 years old and you can't even really process what's going on, even in the aftermath.
Patrick Giacomo is a lawyer for the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit which provides legal support for people accusing the federal government of abusing constitutional rights.
If you were harmed by a federal officer, you can do something about that now.
Giacomo's expecting a tidal wave of lawsuits nationwide against federal agents, and not just for raids like what happened in South Shore, but also lawsuits filed by U.S. citizens and non-citizens in communities impacted the most by federal agents over the last several months for allegations of excessive force, wrongful arrest, wrongful detention, and other injuries. What's making all this possible? Giacomo points to a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision about another federal raid. The case at the center, his client, Trina Martin, and what happened at her home that you're seeing in this police body camera footage.
You feel like there needs to be accountability?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Trina Martin didn't live in the South Shore building, but she did live through a similar kind of nightmare in 2017.
Can you still see that moment?
Oh, God, yes. I still see the moment, and I still see what it's done to my son.
Her home was also raided by heavily armed federal agents with the FBI.
What do they do to your home? What do they do to your family?
They forced their way into my home about 4 o'clock in the morning, threw in flashbang grenade bombs, had us all surrounded with assault rifles in our face. My son was in the room by himself with just looking into a barrel of a gun.
Her son, Gabe, was only 7 at the time.
I could just hear my son calling my name, just Mom, 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 and that sound will always stay with me.
But the feds had the wrong home. They weren't even on the right street. The federal agent in charge said his GPS device sent him to the wrong house.
So they totally got it wrong.
Totally got it wrong.
And even though they raided the wrong home, attorneys representing the FBI in court argued the feds were immune from being sued.
In the Martin case, these officers and the United States really were completely immunized from any sort of accountability or liability for the harms that they created.
People who believe they've been harmed by federal employees can sue under what's called the Federal Tort Claims Act. But there have been roadblocks and restrictions due to differing interpretations of the law when it comes to immunity for federal agents. That's what happened in Trina's case, and it was initially thrown out.
The federal government is the government, so when you're asking to sue it in its own courts, it can make that as hard as possible.
So then Giacomo and Martin appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and in June, 8 years after the wrong federal raid on her home, justices made this landmark decision, unanimously agreeing that the federal government did not have immunity and her case could move forward because she did have the right to sue.
Your case set a precedent that if you are harmed by a federal officer, you can sue.
That's right. All of these ICE raids and other DHS actions will result in the federal government paying tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in damages.
I feel like people have an opportunity to hold the federal government accountable for their actions.
The Martin case is expected to go back to court later this year. Meanwhile, we're digging into other claims alleging abuses by federal agents right here in Chicago. Dave Savini, CBS News Chicago Investigators.